Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now here in my hands, the Wuben L1 flashlight. This is very interesting. It actually has dual illumination sources built right into it. But here in my hands, the Wuben L1 flashlight. Now this is an interesting flashlight where it has multiple... Wait a minute, I've already been here. Why do I have two Wuben L1 flashlights? Well, bottom line is this. These are offered with a couple of different LED options, and I have both of them here today to show them to you in a side-by-side comparison. So maybe you're curious which one you'd be interested in. I'm here today to help you solve that problem, give you the answers, and hopefully provide some data points to allow you to make that buyer's decision. So again, in today's video, we will look at the Wuben L1 in a side-by-side comparison. Both the 5000K and the Nichia LEDs having dual light sources, really cool. And so with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Wuben who did provide these for review. And so as I get into these side-by-side comparisons, typically I would like to have two different color flashlights, but in today's case, they are both black, so it will be a little bit confusing at first. So my plan is to keep them side by side with the Osram P9 5000K LED on the left and the Nichia 519A LED on the right. Now the first thing you're going to see, slightly different in terms of the performance characteristics. 1000 lumens, 104 meters of throw, and 2720 candela with the Osram P9. 600 lumens, 102 meters of throw, 2600 candela with the Nichia 519A. Now in reality, even though the lumens seem to be fairly substantial in terms of their difference in output, the candela is actually very much the same, and including the throw. So at the end of the day, the beam intensity between these two secondary LEDs is going to be about the same. Now keep in mind the fact that both of these have a main light being the luminous SST-40-W LED with 2000 lumens maximum output, 60 hours of runtime, a 320 lumen SOS mode, 2000 lumens strobe, 350 meter beam distance, and an intensity of 30,625 candela. So again, both of them having the main light source being exactly the same. So as we get into these here, just gonna slide this kind of up and out of the way. We are going to work primarily off of the Osram P9 version, but the body and most of the details will again be exactly the same. And so as we get into this here, Wuben always doing a fantastic job. They have awesome beam quality, excellent output, fantastic fit and finish, and today a unique product where we end up with multiple LED sources, which is kind of refreshing. I like that. It mixes things up. It changes it up. It gives me something different. We have multiple options here and some really cool talking points, which I definitely appreciate. As you take a look at how everything came nicely boxed up, nicely packaged. You have your informational product manual. Here you have a pouch sheath, so pretty straightforward. As we look at the construction here, simple belt pouch sheath, pretty standard in terms of the construction. The Velcro opening inside here, a lanyard and your spare O-rings that none of us ever use. The pouch sheath here having the belt loop, so you can either route your belt through it from the back or certainly Velcro it on. D-ring attachment on the top, and just a very straightforward design. That's actually very useful. And the flashlight itself. So let's see, as we get it out of here, try not to completely mangle the box. Popping that over the top, and the flashlight. This is actually a little bit bigger than I would have originally thought, but that's not a bad thing. Look at this construction. That's a really cool light. Very, very interesting design. First off, let's take a look at the battery compartment. So as we unthread the tail cap here, you'll see that we do have that little bit of a protection film on the inside. This is going to be a 21700 lithium-ion battery, 4800 milliamp hours, 3.7 volt, translating to 17.76 watt hours of power. Very nice that this is a 21700 powerhouse. I do personally, look at this. That's magnetic. That's a heavy duty magnetic tail cap. Look at that. That's a honking magnet here. It's got everything all kind of connected together. That battery totally just connecting right to that. So right away, that's going to have just an awesome utility perspective to it, having that heavy magnetized tail cap. Very cool. Just going to leave this here, but please remove the battery insulation sheet before using it. So I'm going to leave that on this particular flashlight because that's going to be an indication that this one is the OSRAM P9, again being the 5000K supplementary light. You can see the secondary LED, the primary LED on the top. Again, that's going to be your luminous SST-40-W, smooth reflector on the inside, a real nice quality throw at 30,625 candela. So that performance is going to be intriguing. Now, as you take a look at the clip, you'll notice that the clip is oriented, so you end up with a bezel up design. Now, I typically say I like a bezel down design. However, the utility purpose of this flashlight is such that you could absolutely clip this onto a pocket and have the head of the flashlight facing forward. And the other thing that's really cool, well, check this out. The head swivels and gives you a 90-degree on your primary light, and then you get the secondary light facing forward. This design is absolutely ingenious. I think this is an incredible idea, and I can only hope that the performance will speak for itself. But so far, I am absolutely impressed. Activation of the light will take place on these rear switches. So as we look here, you have two switches. I'm just going to play around for a second. So as I single press here, you can see the light coming on and off. Long press goes between the modes. So low, medium, high, low, medium, high. We're going to leave it in low for now. Single press turns that off and on. So very straightforward. Now the lower button here, that's going to be the secondary LED. Long press, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. Now, let's just say you wanted to get into some specific type of use. You could certainly clip this into your pocket, leveraging that nice, soft LED. It has a little bit of a diffused pattern in there. And as we turn this on, you can see how widespread that light is. Very widespread on that secondary LED versus the primary. As we press there, more of that defined hotspot. So you're going to get the best of both worlds, where you end up with a nice throw, but also a fantastic flood. And the fact that it's all coming together with a very functional clip, as well as that magnet, that is pretty sweet. Now, as I go into a little more detail on each one of the beams, focusing now on the top button, which is the primary LED. Now, I already showed you that you can single press and turn the light on and off, or you can hold and cycle between low, medium, high, low, medium, high. If I go to the low mode, this will really show you a quick double press. That's going into the turbo. Triple press. That's going into the strobe. Another triple press. That's going into SOS. And another press, and we're back into the main mode. So you end up with not only the primary modes, low, medium, high, but you also get the benefit of turbo and those specialty modes. Again, if I put the light into the low mode, double press into turbo, and single press back, single pressing is going to turn the light off. But when I turn it back on, let's see what it's doing. Low, medium, high, low. double press, turbo, turn the light off, turn the light on. It seems to be coming back in the high mode, which is a little bit interesting, and I'm not exactly sure why. Now focusing more on that lower button, or in other words, the secondary LED. Again, single press, turning the light on, single press off, long press, low, medium, high, back to low, double press. Well, double press in this particular case doesn't do anything. So you do end up basically with the ability to change the mode. However, we're going to long press here, and it goes between the different modes. But depending on what you're trying to do, you can also turn on the primary light and the secondary light at the same time. And then you also end up with individual controls. But in this case, where you end up with the primary light on, you only end up with that secondary light operating in low and medium. When you turn that off in long press, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. But as soon as you turn on that primary mode, you'll notice it dimmed down the secondary and you end up with low and medium. Again, I'm not exactly sure why, but that's how they opted to program this particular light. And just to point out that when you turn on either one of the lights, you can see that this does have a battery status indicator. There, the red staying on for 5 seconds. So when it stays on for 5 seconds, that is indicating that you have battery life between 15 and 40%. If that was flashing, it would be 15% or lower. And then when you get into blue, blinking blue is 40 to 90%. And then solid blue is 90 to 100. So battery indicator, very nice. And so this is where things continue with their interesting facts. And so at this point, this is where things get interesting. On the left-hand side, on the primary light, again, this is going to be a demonstration of the beams side by side. The primary beams on both of these are literally exactly the same. They do appear to have a subtle difference in the tint. The one on the left seems to be a little more yellow, a little bit warmer. The one on the right seems to be just a little bit cooler, but it's hard to say. Now at this point, again, you can single press and turn the lights on or off, or long press, and they're going to cycle between the modes low, medium, high, low, medium, high. Again, these are literally identical in terms of the primary beams, and it's the secondary beams that really start to differentiate. So as we turn the lights off, getting on the secondary beams, well, we're going to just cycle between the modes here, and now they're both in the low mode. So on the left, this is the OSRAM P9. It's 5000K. On the right, the Nichia 519A. Now, again, it's going to be a little bit deceiving, but you're getting 1000 lumens out of the left-hand light and 600 lumens out of the right-hand light. But I can't truly say that either one looks truly different in terms of the intensity. And that's because the intensity, being the candela, is very much the same, being 2720 on the left and 2600 on the right. So the LED pattern, the way that the LED mates up with the inside of the actual head and the lens and how it projects, all does translate to that candela. Now, right away, if we look at the OSRAM, you can see here, very even, the beam pattern very even, but it has a little bit of a hot spot as we get the light closer to the paper. Now going with the Nichia, again, very even, but it is a warmer light. It's not quite as cool. Look at the cool nature of the OSRAM versus the Nichia. The Nichia is going to be more sort of daylight. That's going to be more true to color. So if you want to use this for color reproduction, if you want to use it for photography, videography, the Nichia will definitely be the way to go. And you can really start to see, as I use that flood on that white paper, the difference. The flood really starts to show. Cooler, whiter on the left, warmer, more yellow on the right. But both of them with a nice overall intensity. And as we beam through the modes. We're going to long press. This going now into the medium. The OSRAM, again, you can see just the nature of that cool light versus the more yellow, warmer, but nice and even. Look how even that beam is on the Nichia. Both of them very good, but a little more hotspot to the OSRAM in my opinion. The Nichia is a very even glow, nice illumination, generally a little more even and slightly wider beam pattern in my opinion. And then as we again long press into the high modes, the OSRAM versus Nichia. It's going to be subtle, but you can see a little bit yellow on the paper versus the white. So depending on what you're trying to do, you might decide one way or another. But one thing I can tell you for sure, both of these lights are very, very interesting. Now as we get outside for some beam shots, of course keep in mind the fact that we have two different LEDs. So as I single press to turn on the main light, this is the main LED. I'm going to beam off in a couple of directions here. Now this is the low mode. It's beaming off actually a real nice beam, but the camera is going to struggle just a little bit to pick it up. This is more than enough light for general navigation, the ability for me to get around. It's a nice beam with a refined hotspot and decent spill off to the sides. Now as I long press, that's going to be the medium mode. Now this is starting to throw well off into the distance. I could use this for most tasks easily. General sort of inspections, the ability to navigate around. It's not so much light that it's going to blind me, but it is a good quality beam output. You can see here it actually reaches up into the tree lines, but it's not quite as bright as the long press here. So a long press here, this is the high mode. High doing a nice job to light everything up, well up into the trees, good amount of light, awesome beam quality, and just a good even beam. With that refined hotspot, it's not overly tight, so it's kind of a nice mix between a flood and a spot, so you kind of get the best of both worlds here. Another long press, that brings it down into the low mode. Quick double press, that goes into the turbo, so the turbo beaming off into the distance, up into the trees, lighting everything up. And then a long press here back, that's going to go down into that low mode, and then long pressing low, medium, high, low, medium, high. Double press into the turbo, single press off. Now with the secondary LED, this is the Nichia version that we're using for this testing. So a single press and turning on the light, that's barely going to be enough for you to see. Really not seeing much in terms of your visibility on camera. But again, for me, I would have the ability to easily navigate here. Long press, that's going to be that medium mode. So there, the medium. Another long press into high. So we'll go back low, medium. The medium, a good amount of light. It's actually flooding out the entire backyard here. I can see everything nicely. It's not an overabundance of light, but definitely a good output. Long press into high. That is perfect. The ability to see everything, lighting up the entire yard. Now this does not have much in the way of a hotspot, but it kind of does. But the hotspot blending into that flood off to the sides, giving a good quality even beam. Now again, you can run both of these lights at the same time. So you'll see my primary light off to the left and my flood off to the right. And of course you can angle the head to your advantage, so getting the benefit of a 90-degree beam, which is really nice. Now I did use this for some additional work, which was awesome. I was under my truck. I had to change out the starter, and leveraging that magnetic tail cap was absolutely perfect. And the tail cap was so strong that I forgot about the light, drove away, went all the way to the supply house, where at that point I ended up getting myself some additional parts, made it all the way back home, and lo and behold, the light was still underneath. So nicely done from Wuben. And so again, the Wuben L1, a very interesting light. I think the construction is really neat. I love the fact that it goes to that 90-degree. I'm really enjoying that double beam, which is awesome. The clip is going to be fantastic. The ability to clip it on in a couple of different ways, and as long as you're careful and don't beam yourself in the face, you'll be all set. Now, in terms of the magnetic capabilities, let's check that out real quick. Which, as I go right onto my toolbox, very simple. The ability to leverage the light in a number of different ways. That's going to be absolutely awesome. Light on, light off. Simple between the modes. So that's going to make a nice work light. This would be an amazing tool for a mechanic. Really, really nice. And so I definitely have a lot more testing to go. That was just a real quick preliminary first look at these. Wuben always doing a great job, and I'm thrilled to see they're trying to innovate a little bit. They're bringing it. They're just changing things up and giving us something that's just so fun, so different, and just breaks up the monotony of the typical flashlights. This could absolutely be a great EDC option. It's an awesome option for anybody in the trades, and especially with that 21700 powerhouse, that battery is going to absolutely perform. So again, to the people at Wuben, thank you so much for providing this for review. I hope you guys enjoyed that. For the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor. Take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on my tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there, so if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So, all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.